Thursday night, 8 p.m. hits like a hammer on steel. Rumble lights up, we're loading the wheel. Bible laid open, screens burning red. Me and my man cutting through the dread.
Head to truthmedia.com, grab that raw feed. No corporate chains,
just truth, plant the seed.
I'm the shadow hunter, she's a warrior flame. Tracing justice live, torching the game. Shadow lights explode when the clock strikes 8, and arms riding hard, crashing through the gate. Drops turn to fire, darks tell the veil. Truth or media blood, we never will fail. Tracing justice, running hard and true. Thursday 8 on Rumble, me and you. Husband and wife forged in the fight, digging graves for lies on the freedom's light. Great awakening roaring, feel that rebel fire. Truthmedia.com, taking it higher. Yeah. Lock it in, brothers and sisters. Faith like iron, no surrender, no rust. Rumble's our highway, in truth we trust. From morning to cold to the midnight ride, tracing justice forever, no place to hide.
Dawn and justice mornings, Thursday night thunder. Rumble at 8, tear the veil asunder. 22 burning, this love runs deep. Man and wife standing, no promises cheap. Tracing justice, running hard and true. Thursday 8 on Rumble, breaking through. Husband and wife side by side in the war, digging deep for truth forevermore. Great awakening blazing, set the night on fire. Truthmedia.com, lift it higher.
Welcome everyone to Tracing Justice to the Art. Guess what, guys? I think you guys can hear me now, can't you? I tell you what, Steve is loading up the blooper reel just off of my show. So welcome everyone to Tracing Justice. I know we're doing a little bit of a time change here. Steve is not doing a show today, so I kind of took advantage of that just a little bit. So we're going to be going through a little bit of news today. and I see the chats are already on fire, so I'll get to those here in just a minute. We're going to be going through a little bit of news today. We're going to be digging in these UFO files. And I want to start by saying on this show, I do not believe in little green men. I do not believe in the grays. I don't believe in all of that. Okay? So, in everything that I have seen, just from the little bit that I have seen on the UFO files, do not prove that there's little green men from outer space out there. Okay? Tracing Justice's official stance is that this is our own tech. We've went through it on our Ingersoll Lockwood digs about how all these governments already have anti-grav tech. And that, how should I put it, that they just don't disclose this stuff. You know, on our last Tracing Justice that we had, you know, where we were going through Ingersoll Lockwood Dig 2, we saw Stav grab some footage of it was actually a GPS location of something coming out of the lake next to Area 51, going all the way to the United States in a straight line, going to Ascension Island, and then making a beeline to Antarctica, where Ingersoll Lockwood dropped us coordinates on our very first Ingersoll Lockwood show. So we're kind of building off everything here, and I believe when we start going through these UFO files, we're going to start seeing that maybe this narrative of little green men isn't exactly true. So I hear my wife. Give me just 1 second, guys. I'm going to shut my door, so give me just 1 second. Yeah, she's on the phone with somebody having a good old time. So guys, let's go through the chats real quick. And I wanted to kind of start early because I've only got like a couple of hours. I've only got till like 2:30. So let's go through the chat real quick. Make it make sense. I see you over there on YouTube. So we're still new to YouTube. So, and also Facebook, I see Irish Patriot over there. So thank you. Thank you so much. And we are live on pilled.net. So guys, if you're watching me on Pilled, make sure you give me that repost and make sure you give me that red pill. So I very, very much appreciate your all's support there. And if you're over on Facebook, make sure you're giving us that like. And if you're over on YouTube, you know, share the video out, guys. You know, we're trying to make it on YouTube a little bit too, because, you know, that's kind of like the battlefield of the videos. We're not exactly on TikTok yet. We're working on that. We're looking at things like that, but, you know, TikTok's still very much locked down. And our main platform, X and Rumble. So let's go through the chat. And I see you over there, Rob Stickler, on Pilled. So thank you very much for that. And so we got Carrie Girl in Rumble and K9 Andrea, one of our mods. So thank you very much. JKJ7VA, welcome, welcome. Bibby, thank you so much for showing up today. And let's see here. Kent's15, thank you. I appreciate you coming on in here. And Jonna, I see you there. And Nana2112, hello. And I'm going to stop right there. On the 13th, we're restarting Dawning Justice. I have not determined if we need to start at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. because I still work. I still have to go to work. But I believe that it's going to be essential that we have a morning show for Truther Media. So I'm just going to have to get the grind going on and, you know, really get going on there. Jonna Horde, I see you over there on Facebook. Thank you so much. And let's see who else we got in the chat here on USAID Paid. And just to let you guys know, USAID Paid is a new mod to the Tracing Justice family. So I'm always going to have a mod. You know, Canine Andrea is a mod. Cardius is out working right now, so he's not going to be able to join us. So Patriarch Lupa, I see you there. Welcome in on Rumble over there. So let's see who we got over on X. So Canine Andrea double dipping over there. Sun Minnow, hey, how's it going? Neville, howdy. And let's see here. FJ Biden 22, thank you for the repost there. And Donna, thank you for the repost there. And there's Yeet Force. So thank you so much. Jillian Betsy, welcome over there on X. And let's see here. Did I have time to watch Tim Burchett on Rogan? No, I did not. I have not been able to look at that. Spammer Girl, thank you so much. Spammy is also one of our main mods and our Facebook manager for Tracing Justice. So give her a round of applause. She does really good work for us. If you're not following her over there on X, I'm sure she can drop you her handle over there on X. Let's see here. Share the YouTube video on X. So thank you guys so much for your support. So if you're watching me from Rumble and X, make sure you give me that repost. Okay, let's get some more butts in the seats. And also, if you're over there on X, give me that heart. If you're over on Rumble, make sure, even if you're watching the replay, guys, it helps so much that you share out these videos for me and kind of get me a little bit higher in the rankings. So we very much appreciate that. So our Rumblers, give me that thumbs up. I very much appreciate it. So we're going to go through some news real quick. I'm going to go through a couple of decodes real quick before we start getting into these UFO files. You're going to see my head kind of going all over the place because I've got my dig screen over here. I've got the chat over here. I've got my main studio right here in front of me. So if you see my head going all over the place, I don't have Tourette's or anything like that. I'm just trying. I guess my producer took the day off. So I'm a one-man show today, and Tracy is also, I think she's in the chat somewhere. I have not seen her. So somebody text my wife and say, where the heck are you at? Get in the show. Get in the chats. So, all right. So, guys, let's go ahead and get started. So I've got a couple of things here for us. So the first thing that we're going to look at is Susie Wiles, okay? So we have had a nonstop, relentless attack about Susie Wiles and all of her supposed connections and everything like that. I want you to realize something. Why do you dislike Susie Wiles? Is it because of what you've heard, or what you've researched, or is it what these influencers are telling you to think about her? Okay. So, do you honestly think that President Trump, knowing everything that he knows, would put a dirty player as chief of staff in his second administration when everything is going to be going off of the rails? You have to think. The MSM relentlessly attacks Susie Wiles. These influencers that we know now are not for you. And they're gatekeepers of information. And even some of our non-community out there hate on Susie Wiles. And I'm like, are you freaking for real? So I just want to preface this with one thing. I do have fiber internet now. So you shouldn't see any kind of lags or anything like that going on. I kind of had to put Starlink in stow mode because we were having so many issues with it. We're going through some really bad thunderstorms right now. So if I do lose power, I apologize. But there's a raging storm going on outside my house right now. But we've got fiber internet now, so we're going to be okay there unless I lose power. So let's watch this quick clip about Susie Wiles and maybe why they're hating on Susie Wiles so much, the MSM, and getting us distracted. So let's watch.
Leaving the White House, he called me and invited me to dinner, which I was not in the inner circle. I was just overwhelmed. I couldn't imagine why. I drove down to Mar-a-Lago, which I think he thought I live, 10 minutes from there, but it's really 4 hours. And we had a lovely dinner, and at the end of it, he wanted to know why he won Florida, but maybe struggled in some other states that I think we're going to find out he actually did win. But
2020 election, it keeps being brought up over and over and over and over. So I want to tell you this. The UFO files are going to be fun to go through and all that. Do not lose sight of the signal, though, that this administration's putting out. Okay, we can do both. We can go through this, but we cannot forget about the 2020 election. We cannot forget about COVID. We cannot forget about the redistricting going on right now to try to help save our election. We cannot forget those things, people. So don't get so involved in these UFO files that just came out that you're missing all the other news that's going on out there, because there is news going on out there besides these UFO files. So you just saw right there Susie Wiles saying maybe that they didn't win the 2020 election. Interesting. I want to bring up this little picture of, actually, it's a post that AJP made yesterday. And here's what it says. This was a yesterday Delta, okay, 5/7/2020, Q post 4148. The news is dead. You are what matters now. Handle with care, Q. And here's what AJP had to say about it. Some Anons missed that last part. And here's what he means by it. My interpretation of it. Some of these Anons have built these huge brands on movies, and we're just watching everything, kind of unfold and blah, 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 blah. Okay. What Q has also told us to stay, in so many words, and to stay in the signal. Okay. Q post 4509, the mission. Not going to go through it. Been through it a million times. Okay. What you have to remember is when you're choosing who to follow and things like that, are you getting relevant information, or are you just getting everybody saying, whoop, 17 over there? Do they do any digs, or do they give you any pertinent information of really what's going on? Because Q says the war is real, the news is fake. Okay. And what that meant was, at the time, because I was on the boards, okay, the fake news spin. Okay. They would spin the news to fit their narrative. Okay. It didn't mean that everything was a big show. Okay. I agree. The Biden presidency was a big show. I get it, guys. I understand that. I know there's fake stuff out there. But we can't focus on just solely on that stuff. Our mission is not fulfilled yet. We still have to red pill people. The news is dead. You are what matters now. Handle with care. Q. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. So, got a lot of people coming over there on Pill. Coffee Talk with Sandra. Make sure you're checking out her show on Saturdays. It's their game show. I've been invited to come on. Unfortunately, Saturdays is a lot of my family time. I'm going to try to squeeze something in. I'm going to get with Tracy to see if maybe we can get on that game show for a little bit, because we have been invited. And Crystal Loves David, thank you for coming in over there. So JKJ7V8 is double dipping over on Pilled. And Crystal Loves David 17 says some Anons have gone to the wild side. I agree with that 100%. Dixie, it's storming, Josh. Thank you for broadcasting. Much love. So thank you, Dixie. And thank you, Dixie. She gifted, I think it's a woman. If I'm mistaken, I'm sorry. So I'm still pretty new to Pilled and everybody over there. Yeah, Dixie says, I want to watch that show talking about Coffee Talk with Sandra. So if you're not following her on Pilled, give her a follow. And I believe she's over on X as well, too. So Dixie, thank you for giving us the shades. I really appreciate that. Josh, some Anons, they are communicating with the MSM. I agree with that 100%. So, speaking of the MSM, so everybody knows I've already put out the proof. I'm not trying to take credit for something that I didn't do. Okay, but do you remember the wild card where Trump is holding that up? It says, I have all the cards. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I made that. Okay. I did not put my watermark in it. I'm not like Steve. I'm not as good as Steve getting my watermarks on stuff. He's gotten really good about that. But Trump stole it, and I don't care if he did or not. I am honored that he liked one of my memes so much that he posted it on True Social not once, but twice. And also the White House posted it on X as well too. So now the MSM is losing their minds over this meme I made. So let's watch this quick clip.
In 5 words.
Same joke, told 4 ways. Roll it.
Let's examine one night in Donald Trump's Truth Social feed. A warning to Iran that said, I have all the cards, and holding a bunch of Uno cards, which is a game you win by having no cards.
Trump went on a late-night meme posting spree, which included an AI-generated image of himself playing Uno with the caption, I have all the cards. So that confirms it. Trump has no idea how someone wins Uno.
Trump rejected the offer. And yesterday, he posted this image saying, I have all the cards. Which, may have seen this, is cool, except you might notice the cards Trump is holding are from the game Uno, where quite famously the object is to get rid of all your cards.
President Trump posted an image on Truth Social on Friday that shows himself holding Uno cards with the caption, quote, I have all the cards. Okay, but you know the point of Uno is to have none, right?
Cat, pretty.
So here's why I made that meme. It kind of went a different way because if everybody recalls, I was on Signal Over Noise, the receipt room, with Tracy last Friday, and we were talking about Project Looking Glass. Okay. Now, Project Looking Glass, if you go look at the diagram that we showed you on Signal Over Noise in the receipt room by Freedom Fire and Courteous Maximus, you'll see that there's a little section at the bottom called the wild card. Okay. Trump was the wild card. He completely destroyed everything in all these game out scenarios by the deep state. Okay. Now, when I made that meme, here's what's interesting. I was actually not going to refer to wild cards in that. I put in the prompt, have Trump show a hand of cards that reflects a royal flush, and the caption saying, I have all the cards. It didn't return that. It kept returning Uno cards with wild over and over and over. It would not give me poker cards. Don't know why. Don't know. I got frustrated. I said, F it. I'm posting it. So then Trump gets it and posts it on True Social. And then the White House posted on True Social. On X. Is there messaging there? I don't know. But Trump has always been the wild card. They never thought she would lose. Now they all lose. Q+. You have to remember that. All right, so let's back up just to a little bit more relevant news going on. So Tulsi Gabbard has come out with some evidence that the CIA was highly involved in the plot to get Trump. So let's watch this quick clip by John Solomon.
One other thing we want to get to, it's a story we broke this morning. People have been talking about it all day. There are new documents that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has made available. They're unclassified. They show just how far the intelligence community went in 2020 to hide from the president, the Congress, and the American people certain foreign intrusions into our election. Now, we're not talking about things that may have changed the outcome of the election, but we are talking about sinister things like hacking into voter registration databases, running social media campaigns. The main actors in this one were China, for the most part, a little bit of concern about Venezuela. But what these documents showed this morning is that the CIA, on multiple occasions, tried to doctor President Trump's intelligence briefings to keep this information out. They did not want the information in the hands of the president or Congress. They wanted to keep it quiet. Now, we don't know why. Some of the documents do show some animosity in the intelligence community towards President Trump and his China policies. But we do know now that these things happen. In one instance, a CIA officer was asked to alter a document so that it wouldn't mention China. In another instance, a person was told he could not present information to the president. In a third instance, a CIA officer reported that Congress was falsely informed that there was no evidence of election concerns about Venezuela, when in fact there was an actionable piece of intelligence. Now, the sum total of this is that Tulsi Gabbard recently referred this to the Intelligence Committee Inspector General. It's being investigated. We'll see where the chips land on that. But over at Just the News, you can look at the documents, read the whole story, get up to speed. You're beginning to see a pattern here. We'll see where it ends.
Just so you know, John Solomon's all over the Q drops, people. He's slowly giving you information, just like he did back in Trump's first administration. Now we have so much more people awake since COVID, and they're paying attention to this stuff now. So we're circling back. Future proves past. Okay? Don't forget that. We're still in a war, people. Not everything is won just yet. The ending is there, but we're still fighting the battles to get to the ending because we have all the information. We have it all. We can release information so they'll make disastrous counter moves. And when they do something, we can make a counter move as well. So, I want you to think about something. This has been a multi-year operation. Trump's first term was the setup. What you're seeing in a result of that now, win after win after win after win in the Supreme Court. The courts were the target in the first administration because Trump knew that once he got back in, if he did not have the courts, remember, by the book, we have to do it by the book. Okay? So, what you're seeing now in the administration, so we went into Venezuela, we got Maduro, okay? That was two-pronged, okay? Because we knew from the drops that Iran was going to come into the picture eventually. The Q drops are not about being a prophet or predicting events. It's the battle plan. This is what we're going to do. We can't tell you when we're going to do it. Do we simply let our enemies through the front door? No, we don't. That's why so very few deltas ever hit on these things. And the deltas that do hit are for confirmation purposes, not to predict the future. But we're going by the battle plan that's been set out by the Patriots. Are you seeing that yet? Are you seeing it all go down yet? Staff, welcome, sir. He is going to be live streaming at 4 p.m. today, diving into and mapping the Q drops. So don't miss that. We're actually going to be raiding over to Stav's channel after this, so we can get some eyes on his channel. He's got a whole different way of looking at the Q drops. Dixie, yes. Granny. So everybody knows that during the storms the other day, we live near Brookhaven, okay, in Mississippi. Everybody's seen all the images and everything from over there that hit over there. It was a bunch of tornadoes over there. So things were so chaotic the other night, we couldn't exactly go over there. Okay, because there was so much going on over there. First responders and roads were blocked, but we did get a hold of a family member that went over to see Granny. There was no damage to her house at all, but we still can't find her. Okay, so after the show today, we've got to run over there, and hopefully everything's cleared out, and we're going to go on a manhunt for Granny. And that's Tracy's grandmother, if everybody doesn't know. So please pray for us that we find some information. We're hoping that, her phone is just dead still. She's got a lot of family that lives around her, so that is a good thing. And there was no damage to her house, but we still can't find her. So we're going to find out today, and we will update everybody on that search for her. So just please continue to keep us in your prayers. Got a couple more things that I want to go over before we start going into the UFO files. All right. So everybody knows about Fulton County, that they were suing because we went into Fulton County and got a bunch of these ballots out. Okay. Well, guess what? They lost the court battle. So let's watch this quick clip.
Tonight, FBI agents are going through materials found today during a search of the Fulton County, Georgia election office. That search is said to be related to the 2020 election. Correspondent David Spont has details tonight. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening. FBI agents are still on site at the records warehouse for the Fulton County, Georgia Board of Elections. The matter is sealed before a court, meaning details are limited, but we can report this is related to the 2020 presidential election. Sources tell Fox News that agents retrieved documents, phones, and computers after a judge signed a warrant. President Trump has long made Georgia, and specifically Fulton County, a target of his complaints relating to the 2020 election. Shortly after that election, Trump spoke to Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and said he needed 11,780 votes to win the state. At the time, Raffensperger said he felt pressure from Trump and denied any widespread election fraud. He continues to deny it to this day. Now, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis brought state criminal charges against then former President Trump and others in 2023 for conspiracy to overturn the election. But her prosecution, Brett, was eventually derailed completely after it was revealed she had an intimate relationship with the top prosecutor on her team, and it could have tainted the case. Late last year, a judge dismissed the case in its entirety. Now, Brett, last month, the Justice Department sued Fulton County, Georgia, seeking access to 2020 voting records after state officials allegedly failed to respond to a subpoena. Fox News has learned the head of the FBI's Atlanta field office was recently forced out in recent days, but it's unclear, Brett, if this is all related.
Okay, so you need to use information like this because we've got a lot of people out there saying that our elections, a lot of influencers out there are saying nothing's being done about securing the 2020 election. So why even vote? Okay, Shipwreck's one of them. Okay, I have said my piece about Shipwreck. I think she is a plant. Just like these other influencers out there. She started, going after Julie Donuts, and I clapped back at her, and I told her exactly what I thought about her. But there's so much happening with our elections right now, especially the redistricting going on. They are, when I say they, I'm talking about the Democrats and, I think even the rhinos, that there's going to be a red wave. AJP has been telling you over and over on his late night show. The red wave is this year. In the drops, when it refers to the red wave, we're going to see it this year. Trump still has got an executive order in his back pocket. Timing is everything. Moves and counter moves. You don't just lay out all your cards at the beginning. You hold them in reserve for exactly when you need them. Wild cards, trump cards. So let's take a look at a video that Real AF Patriot put together on Bongino, because I want to go through I want to talk about Dan Bongino for just a little bit. So let's watch this quick clip.
I am asked all the time. One question I get about my other job in the FBI I just got out of is what was with the tweet, the shock to my core? Well, in case you missed it, some of you may have, I'm going to tell you. Because what Barack Obama, former president, said the other day on, was it Colbert's show? No, we're not. No. Sorry. No, we're not doing that. You know, I know things too, Mr. President, and so do you. Not pretending I was at your level. You were the president. I was just the deputy director of the FBI, but it's not a small thing. And I'm not letting you get away with this. No chance.
Okay. So Dan Bongino is another one that a lot of our community hates on. Why? Why do you hate on Dan Bongino so much? Has he went against Anons in the past? Of course he has. Just about everybody has. You know, there's this little thing called OPSEC. Okay, look it up if you don't know what it means. Yes, we are going to be going through the UFO files. After I talk about Bongino just for a little bit, I want to go through one of my decodes. It's relevant, and then we're going to hit the UFO files. Why do you hate Dan Bongino so much? It's, again, are you listening to these influencers? Because right now, I want you to put 2 and 2 together, okay? Why did Dan Bongino say he came out of the FBI? Because he has to go after FAGA right now, because they're everywhere. All these influencers are everywhere. They're turning on Trump right now. Shipwreck's one of them. Okay? So the narrative has to be countered. Dan Bongino is loyal to President Trump. And Dan Bongino also knows where the bodies are buried. Dan Bongino was right in the mix of everything during Obama's presidency. So ask yourself, why does the MSM hate on Dan Bongino so much? Why does these influencers hate on Dan Bongino so much? Dan Bongino knows where the bodies are buried, people. You have to remember this. You got to use your noggin a little bit and quit listening and watching the show all the time, and come back to reality a little bit and start using deductive reasoning again. Because again, just like I said about Shipwreck, y'all have went from following the stars over here in Hollywood. All you did was get your matrix transferred over here to these influencers. You went from watching one soap opera in General Hospital to watching the movie in the Anon community that pushes the movie. Okay? It's taking your critical thought away. And you're listening to all these Anons out there pushing this whatever and taking you out of the fight. And taking you from using your deductive reasoning and taking you out of post 4509, the mission. Get back on mission. That's what we tell you on Truth or Media. We stay in the signal for a reason. Why do you think Truth or Media gets highlighted so much by this administration? I just got my meme 3 times. And I'm not bragging. I'm just pointing out stuff. Julie Donuts gets called out so much by the administration. Real AF Patriot gets called out by Trump himself and Dan Bongino. Why? Because we're in the signal, people. We're telling you what really matters right now. What the relevant information is right now. And again, I'm not trying to toot Truth or Media's horn right now, but dang, people, we got to talk about some of the stuff that matters. Yeah, Yeet Force, there is a reason. I wholeheartedly believe that. Wholeheartedly believe it. We were on LT's cruise. Calm after calm after calm after calm from the administration. Trump himself played my entrance song that nobody else uses in this movement. We asked for an 828. We got it 4 hours later. Just saying, people. Okay. So let's go into a decode, and also I had a question in one of the chats over here. We did thank you so much for Jonna give us a $17. It wasn't a rant, but she Venmo'd me. So thank you very much for that. If you want to know my giving link, just go to tracingjustice.com. There's a little button that says how to give, and just hit that. It'll give you all my links. It'll give you my Give, Send, Go. It'll give you my Venmo. It'll give you my Cash App and my PayPal. Because I don't know if everybody knows this, but on Rumble, when you give a Rumble rant, if you're on your app, they take half of it, and I get the other half. Or if you do it on the computer, they take up to 20% of it. Okay. So, I mean, I know that we've got to support the platform and everything like that, but we trying to eat too. So we trying to eat. We ain't rich. So thank you, Jonna, for doing that. I very, very much appreciate it. Okay, so here we go, guys. So we got. Did everybody remember this that came down right here? It says the highly accurate depiction of Sleepy Joe Biden's administration. Tremendous damage done, but we are back. President Donald J. Trump. Okay, so I want you to look at this right here. That's my True Social displays in Central Time. So we got to add an hour to it. So the timestamp is actually 7:04 a.m. on this post. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. There we go. Let me see if I can enlarge this just a little bit real quick. Here we go. All right. So I said, and guys, I have typos all the time. It's this, okay? It's this autocorrect thing. I apologize. That'll show you that I don't use a lot of AI because I have a ton of misspells and things like that. So it comes from me, guys. All these decodes come from me, not AI. Donald J. Trump comes in with a 7:04 Eastern Standard timestamp. Mine displays in Central Time. So let's see what Trump could be talking about here. It's time for a mini thread. It's not very long, guys. So we have Obama, Hillary, Sleepy Joe, and Hunter in this picture. So let's take a look at post 704. It's just E in the kill brackets right there, okay? Now, you would not know what E is unless you were on the boards back at the time. You know, a lot of anons out there. Yeah, I'll just let my decode speak for itself, okay? This is you had to be there on the boards post. Q later posted a follow-up on basically of what E was, because we were all over the board, okay? All the anons thought that it was, I think it was Vietnam and some of the other clothes. So here it is. The plain fags back in the day were all over this post, which I'm fixing to show you. Q posted shortly after the E post, this post below. The hunt was on. The plain fags thought for a while this was in Vietnam. Q had to step in later and correct. Let's see where this terminal was heading. And see right here, Q post 707 has the E coming down. Okay, so this is a terminal number. Okay, so we go on down. Q later replied in post 733. United Airlines to Guantanamo Bay. What airline check-in counter at PVG T2 is located at E? What was the location of Epic posted other board? Why is this relevant? Q. Okay, so Q was basically telling us that this was the terminal, that there was a flight going to Guantanamo Bay. Okay, I think that Trump is telling us that these people pictured are about to get a one-way ticket to Guantanamo Bay. Tick tock. And you can see right there. Not sure who this person is right here. I'm not sure. Let's see here. Let me go through the chat real quick. let's see here. Okay. So let's go ahead and get to the UFO files. Okay. All right. So here is the web page. It's war.gov/UFO. Okay. And again, I want to go back and preface this that Tracing Justice, mine and Tracy's official stance on what UFOs are. We believe that it's our own tech that we've had for so long. If you haven't watched our Ingersoll Lockwood digs, with Seth on the first one, okay, where Ingersoll Lockwood, the official account, actually come into our chat and started giving us coordinates to look at on Google Earth, okay? And then to our second Ingersoll Lockwood dig with Stav Connects, where he verified what was kind of going on in Antarctica, where Ingersoll Lockwood dropped these coordinates at, okay? And from the first Ingersoll Lockwood dig, we went through UFOs and what they were. The Germans had flying discs. The Germans had anti-grav propulsion tech. We had it too. The Brits had it. So I want you to think about something. In these coordinates that we found out that this was a secret base in Antarctica, and these things were coming up out of the lake next to Area 51, making a beeline to Ascension Island, and then making a beeline to Antarctica. Okay, that was from GPS data. And what was really crazy was that GPS data was released by Fitbit back in the day. And it was only on for 48 hours. And Stav got a hold of it and screen recorded it before they took it off. The U.S. military made them take it off because it was revealing. There's an article about it. Go back and watch the episode. Okay. There was an article put out about it, about the U.S. military made them take it down because they were revealing secret locations of military bases. I believe that we get some of this tech from the Nephilim. I believe that we got some of this tech from the fallen angels. I do not believe, and neither does Tracy, that there's little green men out there in outer space. I don't believe that, folks. You can flame me if you want to, but from what I've seen from these files so far, nothing supports that notion that there are little green men out there. But everything is backing up our assessment of the situation. All right. So you can see that there's some pictures right here that it lists on the front page and things like that. So we're going to get into that. Everybody can look at those. Okay. Yeah, Gamey Love, we are not fighting this spiritual battle on here alone. I agree with that 100%. All right. So let's go to the main page here. As you can see right there, there's a bunch of pictures right there. And then if you go down, this is Donald J. Trump, Truth Social. Based on tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien. Go look up the definition of alien. It means foreign or unknown. Okay? And files related to alien or extraterrestrial life. Extraterrestrial just means not on this earth. Okay? Fallen angels aren't from the earth, people. All right. Unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, and unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Remember, that's what UFO means. It's an unidentified flying object. That doesn't mean little green men from outer space. Okay? The CIA has twisted all of this stuff up. Okay? You have to remember that. and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. God bless America. All right, so I'm not going to read through all of this stuff right here. Okay, so here are the files. You can click on them right here, and then it'll pull up the PDFs. So let's go ahead and click on the first one. And I'm going to download it, and we're going to start reading a little bit through it. I'm going to quickly glance through some stuff, see if I see any relevant information. If we don't, I will go on to the next one. Okay. So this first one says the FBI 62 HQ 83894 case file includes investigative reports, eyewitness testimonies, and public reports concerning the unidentified flying objects and flying discs. Remember, we saw flying disc in our Ingersoll Lockwood dig that had German stuff on it. It had United States stuff on it. We had blueprints to this stuff, people. Between June 1947 and June 1968. The records include a high-profile incident accounts, photographic evidence from sites like Oak Ridge, Tennessee. People, I grew up in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. I grew up in Carnes community in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. That's where I went to school. I don't hide any of my information out there. I mean, it's who I am. Okay. You know, I'm a Knoxville, Tennessee origin. And my dad, if everybody doesn't know this, worked for ORNL out there, the big plant out there, okay? And that was the defense plant out there by the Department of Energy. He worked out there. This is no secret either. I've released some documents from my dad's past that shows that he had Q clearance with Lockheed Martin out there, you know, and to my dad's dying day, he would not tell me of the stuff he worked on. He just said, I draw out plans for the government. He was a master draftsman out there at the plant. He worked for the Department of Energy out there. You know, Lockheed, he contracted with Lockheed a little bit out there too. So interesting that this is saying that. That's what I'm getting at. That's very, very interesting. Let me see if I can increase the screen so we can all kind of see some of this. Okay. Okay, so photographic evidence from sites like Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and technical proposals regarding potential propulsion systems. Additional topics include convention programs, researcher accounts, and extensive media coverage from the period. This file is partially posted on FBI Vault with more redactions and some pages missing. Included here is the complete case file with several newly declassified pages, only minor redactions. All right, so let's go to this PDF and let's see what it's saying. I see Tracy has finally joined the chat. Guys, she's working on an article right now. That's what she's doing. I was kidding, you know, earlier about her not being in the show. I know what she's doing. So, all right. So it looks like that this is a picture of a folder, FBI Central Records Center. All right. So let's go down through here. So this is a letter dated September 6, 1966. And guys, listen, I'm going in cold on all these files. I have not read through them yet. I've only seen little snippets of what people's put on X. So we may go through some stuff that's not even relevant. I don't know. Okay, I'm just going through some of these case files right here. So if there's something, it gets kind of unimportant, I'll move on to something else, okay? It says, Mr. Levi J. Dow in New Hampshire, dear Mrs. Dow, your letter of August 31st with enclosures has been received, and I appreciate interest which prompted you to write. In response to your inquiry, this Bureau is strictly an investigative agency of the federal government, and as such, neither make evaluations nor draws conclusions as to the character and integrity of any organization, publication, or individual. I'm sorry I cannot be of assistance to you. However, you may be sure your communication will be made a matter of record. Sincerely yours, J. Edgar Hoover. Note, Buffaloes contain no record of correspondences with Amalgamated Flying Saucer Clubs of America Incorporated. So I'm assuming that this Mrs. Dow was over this Flying Saucer Clubs of America back then in 1966. Okay, and there's the back of the page right there. Okay, so here is the letter that was written to J. Edgar Hoover in the FBI. It says, Dear Sir, I am a member of NICAP, and I am very much interested in UFO flying saucers. Several weeks ago, a fellow employee received a letter of business from Arizona with a timestamp with a stamp on the back, see enclosed. Okay, so is that letter? No, it's not. All right. Being interested in UFOs, as I asked, is a stamp sent $3 for 12 issues of AFSCA. Having received and read my first issue, I feel like it isn't just what it appears on the surface. I can't say why, but with my limited idea of how communists operate, it strikes me as it is backed by them. Remember, we're going back to the first Ingersoll Lockwood dig. The Germans were all over these UFO stuff, okay? There was more German tech than anything else. And also going back to our second Ingersoll Lockwood dig, okay? The part that I'm just going to call it UFO, that went to Ascension Island and down to Antarctica, that little slice of the land is owned by the Germans. So for you that don't know, Antarctica is divided up into sections for various governments. Okay? And I want you to think about something. Our governments can't agree on anything at all. Here, I'll just go back to here, right, and we'll get right back to this. I just want to say this. Our governments can't agree on anything in the world. Okay? But the one thing we can agree upon, that normal people can't go down to Antarctica. That whole area is off limits to everybody. And they've got a treaty where they divided up all the land in Antarctica between themselves. Ask yourself why. How could that be? The Prussian Burn Spy 34 in the chat says the Prussian ideology never left the earth. They became invisible. All right, so back here. My reason for writing is that I consider myself a true American, and I'm told my ancestors go back to the great-great-great-grandmother who was an Indian squaw, and I'm proud of it. If by writing this AFSCA report, my name could be in any way aligned with the Communist Party, I would like to know, and if there's any way I can get things straightened out. Okay, that's odd. I may be all wrong in my interpretation of the report, but I'd like it to be sure, since I expect I will get the other issues as they come up. I will be 63 years old in a few days, so this person's well deceased. My husband passed away 4/30/65. I have worked with the manager of Rain's department for the NH Insurance Company in Manchester, NH, 44 years this month. Okay. Okay, so this is the actual letter that was just transcribed on here, okay? So this is the file it was kept in, and this is that magazine that she's referring to. Reno, Nevada, July 8th, 9th, and 10th, 1966. So it's an advertisement for a gathering, basically, okay? I'm gonna have to go back and read through some of this stuff. There's some stuff that is underlined here. It says, I'm just going to go back and read this excerpt right here. Examine another aspect of the Asian war in the economic slide. Do you recall that the stock reports just recently that the Dow Jones average dropped sharply because of rumor that the North Vietnam had made a peace bid? Did the staggering implications of this news evade you? Stock prices suffering from heavy losses become a rumor that peace might come to pass. It is thought that this is most distressing. Your economy relies so heavily upon war and destruction that if war to stop, the United States economy would suffer a massive depression. Your money system would collapse like a house of cards. Millions would be unemployed, sick, hungry, and homeless. Tremendous industrial complexes would close their doors. Okay, so it's talking about war being profitable right here. So you guys can go back and read through this article. I'm just kind of skimming through some of this stuff. So I think the basis of this article is that the flying saucers that they're seeing are military in nature. Imagine that, folks. There's a reason. It wasn't just because the government didn't want to tell you that UFOs were linked to military, or they come up with this thing that, oh, there's these little green men in space. And us being diggers, we're all over that stuff. Okay? But the real thing is that they're distracting you because the UFOs is our crap. And it's in the Germans, the Italians, all of it. So ask yourself this: why would J. Edgar Hoover even entertain this person and put this stuff into evidence? Ask yourself that. Use deductive reasoning. So there's some other articles right here from the London Free Press. 16s tell of chase of buzzing lighted UFOs. And this is in London, Ontario, Tuesday, March 29th, 1966. So we can go back and read through some of this because I can't even see this stuff. I would really have to kind of zoom in on some of this stuff. Let's see here. Deputy gets too close to saucer. Superspace world sought by Soviets. Area UFO buffs report skies clear of saucers. Would you believe that saucers visit Wichita? UFO sightings reported here. Flying saucers, quakes linked. Okay, so that's interesting. As you can see, kind of, I wish you could see my, right there in the center, it says flying saucers, quakes linked. So we know that we can create earthquakes. It's already out there, people. The tech is already there. We've been talking about DEW weapons for years. Guess what? Our own military uses DEW weapons now to, guess what? Get rid of drones. Where did drone tech come from? How did these drones go in straight lines and so fast? Is it a very early form of anti-grav tech? You could say that. All right, let's keep going. So what I was saying is that these flying saucers, quakes linked. Could these flying saucers have been deployed to certain areas that we already know that there's tech out there that would create these quakes? Interesting. I'm just kind of connecting some dots here. Police follow saucer, 85 miles, saucer blast, 6 towns see mystery. And one other thing that I want to point out, that Stav went back in the GPS data that he showed coming from Area 51 Lake and going through the United States. He also cross-referenced it to where this thing traveled through in news articles of these certain towns, and just about all of them reported I guess, kind of like sonic booms going through the area. So that's indicative of, propulsion tech. Okay. All right. Just going through this article right here. Strange object over Mount Wilson. And there's supposedly some photos of this stuff. Flying saucers popping up all over. 40 flying saucers. Civil Defense Director watches flying saucer. More than 5 million people say they saw flying saucers. So, I mean, the reports are out there, people. I mean, they're all over the place. And, when all this stuff was just kicking off, I want you to think about something else that was kicking off. Okay? You've listened to the Colonel about Operation Gladio and things like that. Okay? The 60s was a nonstop psyop. And what I mean by that is the hippie movement. Okay? And this free love movement and all, the music and everything like that. It wasn't the start of the degradation of our society, but it had a huge impact on it. It was keeping you distracted from a lot of stuff, and it was making free love normal. Okay? Let's love whoever you want to. Have sex with whoever you want to. It's just sex. So what I'm saying is we know the hippie movement in the 60s was a big psyop. When's all this other stuff occurring about these UFOs? Okay? It's in the 60s. It starts blowing up in the 60s. Okay? Deductive reasoning, folks. I'm reading through this this quick letter. It looks like that this is a bunch of stuff coming from clubs, and this is a letter from, let's see here, J. Edgar Hoover, okay, to a Mr. Paul L. Wright. It says, "Dear Mr. Wright, your letter of October 9th has been received. With respect to your inquiry, matters pertaining to the sightings of unidentified flying objects or flying saucers are not within the jurisdiction of the FBI." So we know that's false. Inasmuch as your communication is of interest to another governmental agency, I am referring a copy of it to the Director of Special Investigations, the Inspector General, Department of the Air Force, Washington, D.C. Sincerely yours, J. Edgar Hoover. Note, we have had one outgoing correspondent dated 3/10/66 in response to this letter regarding TV program, the FBI. A copy of his letter is being sent to the form of the Department of the Air Force. Interesting. So I'm going to skim through this stuff because I really want to get to another file. I want to get to some of these videos and things that everybody's seeing. Okay, so let me just skim through this. Okay, this is interesting. To Director of FBI, and this is dated 10/1966, which would be J. Edgar Hoover. R.E. Bureau Bulletins number 57, dated 10/1/47, 1947, and number 38, dated 3/25/49, entitled Flying Discs. Enclosed are copies of an article entitled Armed Forces Focuses on UFO, which was published in This World Supplement of San Francisco Examiner Chronicle, Sunday, October 16, 1966. This article deals with the current controversy over the existence and non-existence of flying saucers or unidentified flying objects, as quoted Michigan's Congressional Representative Gerald Ford as suggesting that Congress look into UFOs. Also, it announces that the Air Force, which is charged with investigating UFOs, has commissioned the University of Colorado and physics professor Edward Condon to conduct an in-depth study of flying saucers for the next 18 months. And this is a lot of money, folks, back in the day. An estimated cost of $300,000. That's like a couple million now or more. So let me skim through this, because there's a lot in this first file. And see, I know a lot of people get focused on the videos and the pictures. This is your meat and potatoes, folks. You have to be able to read through this stuff to connect the dots, okay? Because we've already connected a lot about dots here just by reading some of this stuff, okay? You know, people don't want to read nowadays. They just want to ingest videos all the time and look at pictures. Can't dumb yourself down. You've got to be able to read through these documents and process all this stuff. I was kind of looking over here at the chat, folks. Give me just a second. You know, Tracy makes a good point over there in the X chat. You know, a lot of this stuff was going on, the 60s stuff, when MK Ultra was kicking off too. All this stuff is connected, folks. Every single bit of it. And guys, if you could just, if you're on X or something, just give me a quick repost and see if we can get some more butts in the seats right here. All right, I'm skimming through some of this stuff to see if I see anything interesting. I'm going to go back and read this one. Okay, so this is a letter from South Kensington, London. Let's see. Associate member of American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, member of the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena. Okay, this is Edgar J. Hoover. Okay, it says, "Dear Sir, about 2 years ago or so, I wrote you and asked you, to the best of my recollection, why agents of your bureau investigated reported landings of identified flying objects and whether data regarding their findings was available. You replied saying that agents investigated these cases to determine whether any federal law had been broken and their findings were confidential, as were all other FBI records. Since receiving your letter, which was placed in my records, many of the records, including your letter, destroyed recently in a fire at my home." Interesting. "And I would therefore be grateful if the purpose of my new records confirm your letter from 1964 to 65, if the situation is still the same. In addition, I would be pleased to learn what your opinion is of identified flying objects. If you decline, I would appreciate that it was due to your position." Okay, I'm trying to get where they're talking about Oak Ridge in this thing, because remember, when we very first went in this file, it was talking about propulsion systems and things like that. So I'm trying to skim through here to see, and if anybody knows in the chat, if they're kind of reading along with this on the website and you know where that's at, kind of let me know. Hold on, I'm reading this real quick to see if it's relevant. Okay, basically this is where a police chief is getting on to J. Edgar Hoover because his police department has had numerous UFO sightings. So interesting, and he's basically telling him, "I'm not an idiot. You know, I work for law enforcement and I've seen this stuff." Walfraham says, "Father-in-law worked in the aerospace industry in 60s and 70s. When he left and ran his family-owned router bit company, he said that there was info that he had to go to his grave with, concerned for family safety." Okay, so that kind of aligns with my dad, you know. I'm just going to tell you guys, I had to take care of my dad his last couple of years because he had dementia, but he would have these moments of clarity, you know. And, you know, right before he died, he had the day of clarity. Okay. And he actually got out of bed and drank some coffee, ate some stuff, and he seemed like old dad. But I took that opportunity to ask him. I'm like, Dad, tell me about what you did at Oak Ridge. And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, I can't tell you that stuff. He goes, there's a reason I can't tell you that stuff. And I have to take it to my grave, literally, Josh. So, I mean, that would support that. Onward Truth says, I know Oak Ridge because my childhood best friend moved there. You sound alike, also noteworthy of the Manhattan Project. Yes, absolutely. For those that you don't know, Oak Ridge was a main research hub for the first atom bomb. So I don't know if you know that or not. Hey, 3927365. Good morning. Good morning. And so let's go back to the files here. All right, so that's of no consequence. This is a bunch of people requesting information from J. Edgar Hoover about UFOs. So I'm trying to get through here to where it's talking about propulsion systems and things like that. Okay, this is an alleged sighting in January 18th, 1967. Unidentified flying object alleged sighting. At 4:10 a.m. at January 18th, 1967, James C. Collins of 212 Sharon Drive, Chesapeake, Virginia, his telephone number, advised that he desired to report that there had observed a large oblong-shaped object which alighted in the street in front of him when he was on his way home from his television repair shop in Oak Grove TV, which is in Chesapeake, Virginia. He believes that he was taken into this craft, which he recalls as being made of glass-like substance and being transparent. It was manned by several individuals who appeared to be undersized creatures similar to members of the human race, probably not more than 4 feet tall. They were allegedly wearing regular trousers, pants, and t-shirts. Collins believed that he was transported by this craft for an undetermined distance and returned to his point takeoff at approximately 1 hour later. Collins spoke in a coherent manner, although he appeared to be under certain emotional strain. He claimed he had not been drinking any intoxicants, but he was unable to account for the time between 8 p.m. and 4 p.m. He stated that the telephoning from his workshop, but he had no recollection of being elsewhere between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Okay, so we've heard of people getting abducted, okay, by these aliens. We're going to put some facts and stuff behind this stuff, okay? You just saw that it was plainclothes, shorter people, okay? You also heard that there was no recollection of events, okay? MK Ultra can remove memories from people. It's already been proven. Go out there and look at it, okay? I'm trying to just bring everybody back to planet Earth on this stuff. And if you're a Christian, you know that there are fallen angels out there. You know that there are demons out there. Okay? Are they going to look like us? We were made in the Lord's image, people. Head, arms, legs. So, in saying that, would it be fair to say that angels kind of look like us too? Because if we were created in God's image, do you think maybe fallen angels would kind of look like us too, but maybe a little different? Think, people. All right, so this was classified as secret from Mexico City. I want to try to read this because it's very... Let me see if I can run this thing through AI. Whoa, did you just see that? Did you see where that was just blotted out? Was that always there, or did that just pop up? Tell me in the chat if I'm seeing things. Did that just blot out right in front of my eyes? Somebody tell me that. It's been there. Okay, maybe I was just seeing things. Okay, thank you, Andrea. All right, so this is a secret document from Mexico City, and subject information concerning. So furnish the following information on 12/30/66 classified secret, and it's drawn through now because it was unclassified. With instructions that if not to be disseminated in, while, or part of outside the Bureau without prior approval. Attached for your information or attention is a copy of this text of telegram addressed to the Federal Security Police of Mexico, DF. The telegram was sent from Harrington, Texas on 20 December 1966. The files of this office contain no information on HoloNet or other of the information contained herein. The telegram said as follows: Federal Security Police, Dear Sir, this letter is in a way of clarification to enlarge upon an accident report and the remarks contained therein this date and delivered upon you. The laser ray, interesting, the laser ray or cobalt ray is a, let me see if I can increase this some, guys, so I can read this thing. I really need some here. Let me put on my readers real quick. Okay, there we go. All right. The laser ray or cobalt ray is a self-enshrouding ray and is similar in use to a cocoon around a silkworm. The manipulated to lesser or greater degree of proficiency that is normal. Visions of flying objects are merely faulty vision fully controlled and is very real to that individual experiencing the phenomena. Breathing and heartbeat can be, and then it cuts off, and it's got a bunch of this stuff right here. Okay, so Dear Sir, this letter is in a way to clarification to enlarge upon my accident report and the remarks contained therein this date and delivered to you personally. The laser ray or cobalt ray is a self-enshrouding ray and is similar in use to a cocoon around a silkworm. The entire body is enclosed and the entire nervous system can be manipulated to a lesser or greater degree of proficiency than is normal. Visions of flying objects are merely faulty vision fully controlled and is very real to the individual experiencing the phenomenon. Breathing and heartbeat can be, and then it's cut out there. I can't make that out. Okay, so here's the continuation. Absolutely manipulated, your lie detector test can be positively controlled with your knowledge. Any smell test, hearing, or sound or word slightly can be controlled by vision blocks or intensely or clarity or pinpoint control of eye direction itself. Any physical sensation can be duplicated. Mental and conversational blocks can be created at any times, usually within the public embarrassment to that person. Naturally, mathematics, typing a book, keeping can be manipulated to the extremes of frustration or nervous or mental collapse. Sexual climax can be made to most any individual, anywhere, anytime. This is interesting stuff here. Any type of machine can be manipulated, destroyed, or damaged from unexplainable reasons or sources. This means any part of the component or any part of that machine or motor regardless kind of type. Any ignition system can be shorted at random. Previously, the method used was connecting the ray to the electric or telephone lines, which gave access to the monitoring or anyone's thoughts wherever he may be, particularly while at work on your desk. thoughts used on the highway while driving were monitored by equipment carried in trucks, rental trailers, autos, etc. Most of this equipment is from the out of state, particularly California, used in the valley by non-tourists who are there for reasons extending over 30 days and who do not pay for the Texas plates. They have infiltrated almost every business level. Any man in business cannot realize the reason that so many company secrets or confidences are lost. A business competitor can eventually bankrupt any or all of his competition. How can a defense attorney present a defense while his strategy is known to the opposing attorney previously? In the intensive review of my driving record, particularly accidents I believe that are most premeditated, all since 1946, because I learned too much in the Navy while at war concerning political appointments of some members of the armed forces' political influence. Okay. Quote, I saw unidentified flying objects in 1945 on combat missions. They were not the enemy. And there's a note on here that says saucer. I further believe that I will possibly experience forgery and very possibly be convicted for it from a valid signatures made at service stations using credit cards. The customer gets the copy, the station keeps the hard copy, and the clear carbon with the valid signatures are purchased or given away for framing purposes. This is weird stuff. So basically, this ray is being used in multiple ways. So I'm going through this stuff. I'm still trying to find the stuff about propulsion. Sorry, guys, for the silence here. I'm just kind of looking through some of this stuff. I'm seeing this stuff just as you guys are seeing this stuff. So, and I'm trying to go over some relevant stuff. Okay, let's read through this one because it's talking about the Gestapo and everything. So, this is a letter, the United States Department of Justice, FBI, okay, Miami, Florida, RE, Paul Peril, information concerning. On April 26, 1967, Paul, 1430 Southwest 7th Street, Miami, Florida. Excuse me, guys, let me get a quick drink. Guys, if you aren't following me, make sure you're following me on all the platforms. Just go to tracingjustice.com. All of our links are there. Let's see here. Appeared at a Miami office and furnished the following information relating to an object presently referred to as unidentified flying object. He allegedly photographed in November of 1944. Sometime during 1943, he graduated from the German Air Academy and was assigned as a member of the Luftwaffe on the Russian front. Near the end of 1944, he was released from this duty and was assigned as a test pilot to a top-secret project in the Black Forest of Austria. During this period, he observed the aircraft described above. Guys, listen. This is military stuff, okay? This is not just little green men. This is facts pointing back to our own militaries from around the world. So let me reread this. He was released from this duty and was assigned as a test pilot to a top-secret project in the Black Forest of Austria. During this period, he observed the aircraft described above. It was a saucer shaped about 21 feet in diameter. Okay, so all the way around it was 21 feet. Okay. Radio controlled and mounted several jet engines around the exterior portion of the craft. That would go in line to what we saw on Ingersoll Lockwood, the #1 dig with this German aircraft that we looked at the specs on it, and there was actual photographs of this thing. Okay, so this goes right in line with our first Ingersoll Lockwood dig. So what is K9 Andrea saying? Hold on just one second. This guy's story is interesting, military. He's got sauce, Josh. That report, Josh, the Austrian, right there. Yep. Freedom Fire says, my question is, what actually happened to all of Tesla's equipment? John Trump. Go look at openink.org. I told you about OpenInk. I helped develop that process. Not develop it, but test it. A lot of John Trump's work is in there. Openink.org. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, I know, Andrea. She's doing the best she can with one hand. So let's get back to this. I saw something out of the corner of my eye, and I kind of wanted to address it real quick. So Justice for All says Black Forest, Rothschild's hunting parties. Interesting. Okay, so Black Forces of Austria. It was a saucer shaped about 21 feet in diameter, radio controlled. We know that's basic tech, guys. They could adapt this tech to larger scales. Okay, this is not out of the ordinary stuff. And mounted several jet engines around the exterior portion of the craft. He further described the exterior portion as revolving around the dome in the center, which remained stationary. Okay, so let's talk about this. Okay. Did you recently watch the movie that just came out with going to outer space? I can't remember what it was called. But, to generate artificial gravity, they had this thing that would come out from the spacecraft and start orbiting, okay, creating gravity. So that goes right in line with what this report is saying, anti-grav tech. And we've always wondered, all these reports saying these UFOs spin like this very, very rapidly. Anti-grav tech, guys. This stuff can all be traced back factually. So let's keep going. So he further described the exterior portion as revolving around the dome in the center, which remained stationary. It was Perel's responsibility to photograph the object while in flight. He asserted that he was able to retain a negative of a photograph he made at 700 meters, 20,000 feet. A Xerox copy of the negative, as furnished by Perel, appears on the last page of this communication. So we're going to see that here in just a minute. A still photograph he allegedly made at the risk of my life, illustrating the object parked in a hangar, appears on the last page. According to Perel, the above aircraft was designed and engineered by first name unknown Kuhrer, a German engineer whose present whereabouts is unknown to him. He assumed Kuhrer was taken into custody by the Allied forces upon the termination of hostilities. Perel stated that Kuhrer, I'm guessing at the pronunciation, unsuccessfully attempted to avoid the German draft, but was apprehended by the Gestapo in Vienna, Austria, sometime during late 1943 or early 1944. Perel also assumed that the secrets pertaining to this aircraft were captured by the Allied forces. He said that this type of aircraft was responsible for downing at least one American B-26 airplane. He furnished the following fuel and engine data. Okay, all right. So here we're getting into the propulsion stuff. Fuel mixture of N2H240 and methanol alcohol rather than oxygen holding mixture of hydrogen peroxide H2O2 in water. Smooth flow rotary drive over 2,000 meters per second. So are you following me, folks? Because we go back to the Stav dig with Ingersoll Lockwood, and we're looking at that GPS data, and it goes in a complete straight line. Okay? Straight line. No deviation at all. No deviation. And I said on that show, in order for that to happen, there has to be extreme speeds. Okay? Extreme speeds to stay in that deviation. Because when you look at airplanes, there's still deviations that go on just because of, wind, turbulence, and all of that stuff, okay? But if you're going so fast, that stuff doesn't matter anymore. You're cutting right through it. And what would be the most aerodynamic thing that you could have? A complete saucer. Okay, let's keep going. Perel said he had copied this data from a board located in the hangar area. Perel asserted that he was shot down by the British on March 14, 1945, after having been reassigned to the Western Front. He was held prisoner by the British in London, later in Brussels, until his release in 1946. He departed from the United States in Bremerhaven, Germany on December 26, 1951, entering the United States in New Jersey on January 7, 1952. He was subsequently naturalized in Miami during 1958. Could this be a precursor to Operation Paperclip? Because a German was just naturalized in Miami, Florida in 1952. And this is basically what this is saying is that this guy that developed this stuff was naturalized in the United States. Perel stated that he has withheld this information because he assumed the United States possessed it. He has become increasingly concerned because of the unconfirmed reports concerning a similar object and denials of the United States has such an aircraft. Think Area 51, people. He feels such a weapon would be beneficial in Vietnam and would prevent the further loss of American lives, which was his paramount purpose in contacting the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Perel reiterated that he has the original negatives of both photographs. He says the shots were taken at 30-second time exposure. So back then, you had exposure time. You had to stay still, and you had for so long to get the exposure, okay? This document contains neither recommendations or conclusions to the FBI. It is property of the FBI and is loaned to your agency, and its contents are not to be distributed outside of your agency. Okay, so this is the actual letter, unaltered. Okay, so I don't know what we're looking at right here. So let's keep going. Okay, top. Okay, they're saying that's what it looks like from the top. And see, it says bottom right here. That's what I think what it's looking like from the bottom, okay? Okay, so that's the same letter we just read. It's like it's in there twice. And I think we're just getting better resolution on this stuff. that's something of no consequence. Hold on, I'm checking my phone, guys. I'm not going to make this public, but I'm just telling you right now, if you're not following Real AF Patriot, you need to. You need to. Real AF _ Patriot on X. I'm telling you, he's in the signal, and he follow him. Okay, I'm continuing on the hunt here, guys. And guys, let me stop real quick. I do want to say this. What you're seeing out there on X right now is just a bunch of videos and stills of these things moving through the air. Okay, I challenge you to not look at the videos. You can. I mean, I'm not saying don't look at them, but don't focus on them. Don't report on stuff like that. This is the kind of stuff that we need to be reporting on. And I point over here because my screen's over here. This is the kind of stuff that we need to be digging on and reporting out to the general public. Your influencers out there are going to report the stuff that's easy to look at and get the most clicks. Okay? We ain't about that. Truth or Media ain't about that. Truth or Media is about digging. This is exactly what we're doing right here. And we're tying it to real life stuff here and not sensationalism. Exactly. Okay, Patriot 10. Why anons can't react? Stay calm in the storm. Exactly. People, if you're in the movie theater, get up, walk out of the movie theater, turn off the movie, get back in the game. This is what we did back in the day, guys. We looked through all these documents and piecing stuff together. If we hadn't done that, we would not be where we're at today. These influencers didn't get us to where we're at today. It was the Anon community that got us to where we're at today in disclosure. And people like Brian Cates and people like Real AF Patriot, people like Tracy back in the day putting out digs and stuff like that. You know, just everybody. Stav, you know, he's in. Guys, you need to follow Stav too. He don't follow a lot of people back, and that's just because of the algorithm. Okay, he likes to have a clean feed. Follow people like that. Follow people that give you facts and digs. Stav's not part of Truth or Media, but I highly support him because guess what? He puts out facts. Okay. Also, DC Lidstone. Go follow him. He's not part of Truth or Media, but he puts out great stuff, though. It's not just clickbait stuff. All right, so let's go back to the dig here. Let me put back on my readers, guys. Sorry. So this is about some kind of journal publishing wishing somebody a happy birthday. So I don't see how that's relevant. Convincing UFO pictures. Huh. I'm looking through this, trying to get some perspective on what this is. Purpose and scope. This is supposedly it's this, I guess, magazine or something that come out back in the day, the International Get Acquainted program, printed in Denmark. Purpose and scope. know, this is kind of getting out there on some stuff. I'm gonna skip past that. I'm trying to stay on planet Earth. This is a bunch of conjecture. And you guys can go and look at this too. It's on the very first thing that we've opened up. It's about midway down in the PDF, okay? You can go take a look at it and see what y'all think about it. But nothing I've seen so far points to little green men at all. It actually points to our own governments more than anything. This is a bunch of UFO sightings all over the place. And keep in mind, this was all happening back in the 60s, okay? You know, MK Ultra was ramping up and all this stuff. You know, the hippie movement and psyop after psyop after psyop after psyop. I mean, it's silly to think they didn't use print to psyop people either back in the day. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, this is another letter from J. Edgar Hoover, you know, basically responded to somebody saying the FBI they don't have jurisdiction in unidentified flying objects. Okay. Dear sirs, would you please comment on the enclosed picture that is marked with X and return the picture with your reply? Thank you, Ray Robertson. And the notes say flying saucers and Federal Bureau of Investigation, Washington, D.C. There's the actual handwritten note. Okay, there's that picture. Looks like a humanoid. Okay. See the rib cage right there, but looks very, very short. So one thing that I'm seeing that's very common throughout all of these files is, you know, military involvement. Okay. Military hangars here, you know, this here and this there, okay? Let's see. Enclosed are 6 copies of an LHM containing information of interest to the Air Force. 1 copy has been furnished to OSI Tinker Air Force Base, Oklahoma. The information in the enclosed LHM was received by S.A. Earl O. Cullum. No further information is being taken. Okay, let's see what this information is. Let me look at the chat real quick. Rob Stickler, anyone know why Clay Clark is separating from Trump? Use your discernment. Use your discernment. Look at who people run around with, what they're saying about Trump. That's all I'm going to say. Use your discernment. Okay, Patriot 10 said, remember I was talking about that happy birthday letter? Okay, Patriot 10 says on Rumble, happy birthday was an excuse to communicate. Let's see here. Okay, K Paranoia. Okay, Kilburn 1776. Let me pull up this link that Kilburn just sent me. See what's going on here. All right, let me share this right here. Okay, so we just looked at that photo right there, and this is kind of like a rendering on what it would actually look like. And guys, remember, this is a rendering. Okay, this is basically what we may think it would look like. Guys, that looks like a demon to me. I don't know about you, but it looks like a demon to me. Interesting. Thank you, Kilburn, for that. Appreciate that. Let's go back. Okay, let's read this letter right here. This is a letter concerning unidentified flying objects from the FBI. A young white female who refused to give her name appeared at the Dallas FBI office on October 9, 1967. She stated that she is interested in unidentified flying objects and has received a quantity of information concerning beings from outer space. She says that she will not reveal her identity, as she would feel like a fool if this information is not true. So she doesn't know if it's true or not. Okay. She stated that if it is true, however, she will meet with those interested officials and furnish all information that she has, provided nothing is done to endanger her safety. Okay, I want to back up real quick. All this is in this PDF for a reason. It's building. Everything is building off each other. Okay? Do you remember us looking at somebody talking about this ray that encompasses somebody and that can give you false images? Okay? Think 1960s, what was going on? MK Ultra. Okay? Let's be realistic of this stuff, okay? So we already know do weapons are real. We already know MK Ultra is real. Do you not think that they would get this alien hoax and use like whatever this ray is to project things and insert memories into people to get everybody off track from what the government was really doing? Deductive reasoning, people. Stay on planet Earth. Listen, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm a huge all of that, okay? But I trust what my Bible says. You know, that stuff is fun, you know, to imagine and talk about, and I get it. I just believe that we're being misled on what everybody says an alien is. If I was the devil and I wanted to fool everybody about my existence or the existence of my minions, what would I do? What would you do? The greatest lie ever told was that Satan doesn't exist. Do you think that maybe that Satan would try to repackage himself as something else? Using people through MK Ultra? Putting out false publications? Let's use our brains, people. Let's use our God-given talents to discern things. So let's read this, okay? All right. She stated in July 1967 she met a being from another planet who had assumed earthly form. He gave her certain information. He was picked up and departed from the earth on August 21st, 1967. She stated she then received messages from non-earthly sources in a manner she refused to discuss. Okay, a manner she refused to discuss. Okay, what did they just say? In that beam that they have to encompass people, that they can put thoughts in their heads. Okay? Do you see where this is going? All of this stuff is building off each other. You have to read between the lines. Okay, she stated these sources told her the following. An anti-missile was fired at a UFO over Africa on May 22nd, 1962, but the UFO was protected by its force fields. Let's talk about force fields real quick. If you have a metal object that is being lobbed at you, okay, what could deflect that metal object from hitting you? What also is anti-grav tech based off of, and how you get the circular motion? Magnetism. If you created a huge magnetic field around your craft, could it not be used to repel missiles as well? Deductive reasoning, people. Think. The UFO was detected 22,000 miles from Earth by radar about August 6, 1967. The UFO was detected over Antarctica, August 20th, 1967. A UFO was detected over the Delwan in the past week and was shot down, and beings from outer space are trying to recover it. Informant would furnish no further detail. She said if this information is true, she will know other information. The document contains neither recommendations nor conclusions from the FBI. Okay. Same letter, guys, just different copies of it. Same letter, same letter. Hold on, I'm reading, guys. Give me just 1 second. Okay. This is where you need to know your history, folks, because I'm putting some stuff together that Freedom Fire has given me over the last couple of days. So this is a letter from Robert G. Edwards, request for information on sightings of unidentified aerial phenomena in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The Dallas-Fort Worth area is very important to the deep state, okay? Very important. Where the Bushes have a lot of their business out of. The Dallas-Fort Worth area. Okay? A subcommittee of the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, NICAP, has recently been established in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. NICAP is a private, nonprofit organization directed by Major Donald E. Kehoe, U.S. Marine Corps retired, from the national headquarters in Washington, D.C. The purpose of this organization is to conduct scientific investigations of UFOs, unidentified flying objects. It now has 14,000 associate members in 50 states. That's huge, people. That's a lot of people for an NGO. A lot of people. We know about NGOs, don't we, folks? Okay. The organization is not interested in the alleged psychic, occult, or mystical or religious aspects of UFO phenomena. NICAP subcommittees, which there are 30 in the United States, are composed of qualified individuals in technical or investigative fields who are selected and appointed by the Washington office. Okay, so basically, this NICAP NGO was appointed by Washington, and they're not concentrated on the psychic, occult, or mystical, religion, or religious aspects of UFO phenomena. So here's my thing is, were they created to gatekeep information and to suppress actual investigations? Okay. NICAP is currently working closely with Colorado Project. You can hear my storm outside. There is a raging storm going on outside right now. NICAP is currently working closely with the Colorado Project. A comprehensive study on UFO began in November of 1966. A group of distinguished scientists from the University of Colorado, we know what goes on in Colorado, under the U.S. Air Force contract. The local subcommittee earnestly solicits your support regarding reporting to the committee chairman on any UFO sightings occurring in this area. It is especially important that the NICAP committee be contacted immediately in cases reported UFO sightings. Okay, so basically, when from these letters, when the FBI would receive a letter, they would forward it to NICAP and saying, hey, we don't take care of this stuff, but we're giving it to NICAP. Okay. Interesting that it was based out of Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth area. Dear Mr. Evans, your letter of March 14 with enclosure has been received. The investigation of the unidentified flying objects is not or never has been a matter that is within the investigative jurisdiction of the FBI, blah, blah, blah. I can assure you the photograph you mentioned does not represent employees of this bureau. Trying to find this picture. It's a student writing the FBI on any information concerning UFOs. I'm reading through this real quick, guys, to see if it's relevant. Okay, so let's read this letter real quick, and we're gonna connect some dots here. This is a letter to J. Edgar Hoover. Dear Mr. Hoover, December 7th, 1963, I observed in the sky at Morristown, New Jersey, an unusual object and unusual behavior. On December 8th, 1963, just 24 hours later in Elkton, Maryland, the Pan America aircraft with 73 passengers and crew of 8 perished when this aircraft exploded mid-air and crashed. Okay, let's back up just a second, okay? Do you remember earlier in this same report that it was saying that they could short out stuff just like that with basically beams? Okay, they could short out engines, they could short out systems, they could short out all of this stuff, okay? That they had the ability to do that. Seven out of 10 plane crashes are planned. Remember that from the drops? And how do they do that? Do you think maybe they would use their tech to short out these engines? Do you think they would have this tech back then on these UFOs to short out engines? All right, let's keep going. I'm just kind of making you think a little bit because it seems like that these files are building off of each other, okay? I sent a tape regarding this observation I made December 7th to Mr. J. Edgar Hoover and associated with this object with the crash of this plane. Mr. Hoover informed me that the Civil Aeronautics Board was investigating the disaster and what I had sent to him would be forwarded to them, CAB. In the month of March 1965, the CAB released a report that this accident and cause was due to a lightning strike. Are you kidding me? A lightning strike? Staff says there are accounts of freight trains in remote Australia coming in contact with bright light objects and losing all power. Interesting. Very interesting. In the month of March 1965, the CAB released a report that this accident and cause was due to a lightning strike. I protested to Senator Case of New Jersey. Senator Case mailed me the official report by the CAB, along with the letter by Mr. John DeGree, Director Community of the Congressional Relations. Upon reading the official CAB report on this accident and also this letter, I have come to the conclusion that neither the CAB or the writer of this letter know what they are talking about and have missed the point completely. I claim that the object which I seen was laying air mines and that this aircraft was destroyed by contact with one of these mines. Okay. All right. So you're thinking, oh my God, air mines. Okay. Let's come back to planet Earth, people. Okay. Drone technology is not that far advanced. Okay. It's not. What do we see now? A drone can just hover in one place. We use drones as weapons, suicide drones. So it's reasonable to say that this aircraft could lay drone mines. Are you kind of connecting some dots here? We're kind of staying on planet Earth and having logical conclusions to all of this. Let's keep going. To substantiate my claim, I would refer you to page 8, line 20. Let me write that down. Page 8, line 20 to line 24, inclusive of this report, file number 1-005, Boeing 707-121, tail number N709PA, Pan America World Airways, near Elkington, Maryland, December 8, 1963. Okay, so let's go down through here. Okay, so here's what the lines read. Metal splatters on the leading edge of the horizontal stabilizer were identified by spectrographic analysis as being formed from two different aluminum alloys. However, these alloys could not be identified since the chemical composition of the deposits did not conform to any alloy used on the airplane. The long axis of the deposits varied from 18 degrees onboard to 4 degrees outboard. Okay, so what that's saying is that the metal composition that was in these fragments in this plane did not match the composition of the airplane itself that was hit. So leading you to deduce that what his statement that he said about air mines was valid, that they were actually little bombs before. Hold on just one second. Oh, Gimme Gam says, and we know highlighted Justice Cometh in this morning show at the 27-minute mark. Congrats, dude. Hey, Gimme Gam, I don't know if you know this, but LT's a good friend of mine. We talk ever so often. We were a guest speaker on his cruise. So I love LT. LT is, I'm just going to say I love LT. He has been red pilling people. I listened to him when I was, for years. And when I finally met LT, it was like I was starstruck. But LT is such a humble man, though. He's so humble and he's so Christian. I love LT. I just wanted to say that real quick. So I'll go check that out. On our way over to see Granny, I'll check that out on the 27-minute mark. I'll write that down. 27. All right. Yeah, LT's been on Tracing Justice before. He likes to pop in on Real AF Talk by Real AF Patriot because last week he just popped into Steve's show, so that was kind of cool. All right, so let's get back to this. I kind of get off track sometimes when I look at the chat and stuff, so I appreciate everything that the chat puts out there for me. I'm trying to see anything else here. All right, let's keep going. On July 18th, 1964, I had made another observation on the details which I sent to Harvard College Observatory. I'm sure that went somewhere. Cambridge, Massachusetts. This sighting was an astronomical, not a man-made object. A copy of the return letter is enclosed. So basically said that, Harvard replied that, hey, this was astronomical and not a man-made object. Somehow, both of these observations had something in common: the color. I proceeded to experiment, have arrived at the following conclusions after several hundred experiments had taken place. I had bought books on astronomy and also books on flying saucers. I know that the object was not astronomical in any way, nor was it a flying saucer. This object was clearly designed missile camouflage to appear as a meteor or as a flying saucer. However, this missile failed to operate as planned. That is how I was able to see the complete details in the color and also the design, of which I furnished to the government. Also, I know why this design was used and also why the colors were arranged as they were. My experiments prove this. Through my experiments, I have been able to determine the following: where they get their tremendous speed from, the wobbling effect they have on occasion, we've all kind of seen that, appearing to oscillate about their vertical axis, while they make no noise, condensation, or exhaust, whooshing and wheeling, humming noises on occasions, different colors they have, pulsating light, luminous appearance, different forms and shapes. These objects are consistently being sent over both the North and South Americas by Russia. Anyone seeing these objects are instantly responsive as to a flying saucer. Subjects to ridicule if this is to be mentioned to anyone and are reported to the authorities. I want you to think about something. They want to discredit us. They call us conspiracy theorists. This is no different. But they framed us as crazy people by talking about extraterrestrial life. This person's actually doing the digging. This person is giving you real conclusions on what's going on. Russia is well aware of this fact and has capitalized upon this fact, and they have been, this way, I'm sorry, let me start over. They have in this way been able to penetrate our radar systems undetected. And guys, that's not out of the ordinary. Think stealth bombers, okay? They can go through radar undetected because of their color composition, because of their shape. Where do you think we got this technology from, people? Okay. To present this situation can be blamed upon the various governmental agencies who in the past have scoffed and ridiculed people who have reported these sightings. Now we are about to pay with the 60 million American lives or more some price. Our one hope is that Russia and China will go to war against one another. This will give us time to create an effective and efficient radar system that cannot be penetrated. I am not the prophet of doom, just an American citizen who is concerned about the future of America. A copy of this letter was being sent to the following people: President Nixon, J. Edgar Hoover. Okay, so think about this. Trump's talking about the Golden Dome too. An impenetrable dome. He's not talking about a physical dome, people. He's talking about what this guy's talking about right here. He's talking about satellites. possibly do weapons. We know it's real, people. This stuff is not far-fetched. And you think, this phone tech and stuff that we've got, okay? 20 years ago, who would have even thought, or 25 years ago, I was alive then, who would have even thought that this was possible? That this was like something very far-fetched. I'll tell you, I want to give you, I'll move on here in just a second, but I want to tell you this. So, I was about 10 years old. I was playing my Nintendo. My dad came home. And he looked at what I was doing in the living room. And he stopped. He said, pause your game. I want to talk to you about something. I said, okay, cool. Keep in mind, I'm 46, okay? So this is 36 years ago. And keep in mind, my dad worked for ORNL out of the Oak Ridge plant, the Department of Energy. He said, Josh, and I've told Tracy this story too numerous times, there's going to be a day to where when you sit down, you're going to be able to turn on your TV. You're going to be able to talk to people face to face. You're going to be able to get any game that you want to play right then and there and pay a fee for it. To just play that game. You're not going to have to physically hold a copy of this game. You're going to be able to watch any movie that you want to at any point of the day. You're not going to have to buy a TV Guide anymore and wait on that program to come. You're just going to be able to just go and select it and hit play. I looked at him and, if I was on speaking terms with I am on speaking terms with my brother, but my brother's a huge leftist, so we don't talk about a lot of this stuff. He would verify this too. And I said, Dad, you're crazy. You're crazy. That could never happen. Think of Back to the Future too. They have video calls and stuff back then. We didn't have this. We didn't have this stuff. So my point is, what I'm getting to, we had that tech already, guys. We've had all this tech already. It's just not getting released out to the public. We had all this stuff years ago. Do you honestly think that they're going to just give us all this stuff, right as it comes out and right as it's available? No, of course not. They're not going to do that. Knowledge is power. Control over the knowledge is power. This show, it might be boring to some people because they want to go look at all these pictures and videos and all of this stuff. And they keep you riled up and talking about aliens and all this stuff. Guys, we're digging into some deep facts right here. Let's keep going. See, how long have I been going? I'm on 2 hours, guys. 2 hours and 18 minutes. So I'm going to wrap it up. I want to try to get through the last of this. We just went through one PDF, guys. One. And look at all that we've deduced. Kilburn, thank you. Still here, bro. I appreciate you. I just hope that I'm highlighting some things here that's real stuff that you can really dig on and come to some real conclusions about it. And because I'm telling you, these influencers are all over the place with this stuff. I've already seen it out there. They want you coming to them for their information. They don't want you doing this. They don't want you digging through this stuff right here. They don't want you seeing how our militaries all over the world already had all this tech. And that's what it is. They don't want you to know about that. They can plant stuff in your mind and make you look like an idiot. They don't want that. They want you off mission and talking about all this fanatical stuff out there to keep the truth from you. You just went to a different matrix. You thought you unplugged, but you really didn't unplug. And that's what the Q-op was about. Is about you. Hold on. Is about you using this, using this, and using these, and researching for yourself, using relevant facts to find out what they've hidden from you and find out what they've been doing. All these influencers, all they want to do is get that little click from you or get you on their little page for so long so they can make more money. Yeah, I make money on X. I don't make a whole lot, but I do make a little bit. But, you know, I don't post clickbait stuff out there. I try to do stuff like this right here so we can get to the facts of the situation. All right, so let's keep going. So this, remember me talking about Harvard saying that this missile that this guy saw, okay? This is their response to that, okay? Dear Mr. Stewart, the object you saw was a bright meteor, sometimes called a fireball or a bolide. Almost all very bright meteors are small bodies moving in orbits rather like the orbits of asteroids and probably are fragments of asteroids. The direction of the motion of your meteor is consistent with that sort of orbit. A good many bright meteors strike the Earth each day, but most go unnoticed. We have received another report of the same meteor in Wilmington, Delaware. I am sending you the observation to the Moonwatch Division of the Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory here in Cambridge. Cambridge is another deep state place, guys. You know, this is coming from Harvard. What have we learned about Harvard? Not good things, okay? Since it's very rarely possible for the professional astronomer to observe these meteors, most of what this is known about them depends on this sort of lucky chance. I'm sure that's it. This is another J. Edgar Hoover saying that, hey, we received your information, but we don't have jurisdiction over these matters. Yeah, I'm sure. This is a request for more information that somebody's trying to do a report. This is saying that, here, I'll just read it real quick. Forrest E. Woods, this is to Mr. Gale from WV Cleveland. Information concerning. Okay, this is a request for information. Mr. Wood, I telephonically contacted the Bureau at 12:50 a.m. on May 16, 1969 and spoke with S.A. Stephen F. McNary, Special Investigation Division. Wood stated that he is a former CIA agent and wanted to report to the director that recently he had been seeing flying objects. He requested that the director call him on 5/16/69 concerning this matter. He was advised that Mr. Hoover would be unavailable. From Wood's tone of voice, it appeared that he was intoxicated. He advised that he was recently discharged as a patient from the psycho ward at Veterans Hospital. Sounds kind of MK Ultra-ish to me, and the CIA's involved. You know, there's a reason, too, that there's a bunch of stuff come out about MK Ultra before these files, don't you think? Interesting. Yeah, okay, Patriots 10 says Smithsonian underground storage vaults. Absolutely. Now they're saying that, the FBI doesn't investigate any UFO sightings or anything. Okay, this is odd. Dear sirs, this is to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I don't know who it's from. There are currently rumors over the grapevine and print that suggest that men with Oriental features wearing dark clothes go around terrorizing people who have had close-up views of UFOs. It is also rumored that these creatures have impersonated armed forces officers and FBI investigators. They are supposed to ride around in black or dark automobiles that either have old license tags or none at all. Several are reported to have attempted to run down witnesses of UFO sightings, made disturbing, almost macabre phone calls, silenced several investigators who were supposed to have learned some dark secrets about extraterrestrial craft on mission plans and open mail, tapped telephones, and even taking pictures of several homes where UFO witnesses lived. Can you give me any information on such rumors, or can you refer me to the source of facilities that can answer these questions? This information will help settle some disturbing questions the readers of my articles have. Personally, I am not sure at all whether I can fully accept these rumors as fact. I need more information. Any information you can supply ease the worries of people. P.S. If there's any pamphlets covering the FBI's functions you feel that I will need, please send them along. Okay. Let's go back to Hollywood. Let's take a trip down memory lane, shall we? So, remember Men in Black? We know that Hollywood is soft disclosure, okay? But sometimes it can get skewed to push a narrative, though, okay? Would it be reasonable to deduct that our CIA, with the help of MK Ultra, remember that little flashy thing that they used to use on people to wipe their memory? We already know that MK Ultra can do that. Okay? Are you following me here, folks? Would it be reasonable to say that our own government had Men in Black, from what this person's saying right here, is they're hunting down these people of these UFO sightings and wiping their brains of this information? Or if they can't do that, maybe they're hunting them down and killing them. I don't know. I'm just kind of using reasonable deduction here, okay, people? Why would they do that? Well, to cover up what our governments are doing. Not that these little green men out there, but these secrets that they've got this tech out there, and they're weaponizing this tech. Yeah, Yeet4 says, yes, different types of light introduced frequencies can do many different things. The research facility is SD researches this kind of stuff. So it's reasonable to say that maybe the light little thingy is not out of the realm of possibility of wiping people's brains. Maybe it's a little bit more complex than that. But I tend to live on planet Earth. I tend to live in the facts. I tend to live on the disclosure that's come out, and not a bunch of conjecture about aliens. Yeah, Onward Truth says, yes, very reasonable. So from what we know about MK Ultra, this guy's claims could probably be substantiated some way. And we know why they would want to do it. To suppress the information. That our own governments have these programs out there that they don't want nobody to know about. Let's keep going. Let's see if I can get to the end of this thing. This is the actual letter that was before it was typed up. Let me read this real quick. This was that same letter where that the guy had a bunch of research into these UFOs and his house burned down. Imagine that. Imagine that. Okay, I'm skipping past that one. Again, another letter from J. Edgar Hoover saying that they don't investigate UFOs. UFO astronomer, dear sirs, our club is very interested in the study of unidentified flying objects. We were studying a magazine called UFOs, a pictorial. In one of the pages, there was a picture of supposedly a man from outer space who was being held by two men. Above the picture, it stated that the two men were FBI agents who had captured this man and were walking down an American street. He had also stated that the picture had first been published in a German newspaper. There was no other additional information. We would appreciate it if you would send us a letter telling us that this is either true or untrue. Could you please send us this information? We have 3 members in our club that are Steve Smith. Oh my gosh, you don't ever disclose that kind of information to the FBI. But, we didn't know back then, okay, about their names and all that stuff. Okay, what is this? Dear sir, just out of curiosity, if a person were to stumble across, build, or invent a shell, we say, centered drive unit that would power a flying saucer without the need of an exhaust or I can't read that word, that the jets need, and I don't mean a fan, okay, and I don't mean a fan or anything like that, but an engine like that they could be placed in a completely sealed aircraft and would hang suspended in air or to travel at a speed beyond man's comprehension. Would it be considered top secret or anything? Also, what shall a person do with it? Victor J. House from Washington. Huh. Why would they keep something like that from somebody? Okay, this is about saying that they were going to release some stuff to the New York Times about unidentified flying objects and that the U.S. Air Force was involved in UFO research in all military branches. And again, that's that same kind of letter from the FBI, blah, blah, blah. It's a letter from some woman just asking J. Edgar Hoover if UFOs were real. time is it? 2:34. I'm going to have to wrap this up, guys. Let me see if I can find anything else juicy, because everything I'm just seeing is like corroborating everything that we already think. Okay, this is interesting right here, okay? This is FBI. On March 9, 1973, Sergeant Paul Stigliano, United States Air Force Recruiting Office, Professional Building, Waco, Texas, advised a man that identifying himself as Dave Ozane contacted a night shift supervisor at the Waco Tribune newspaper and inquired regarding any information the newspaper could be able to furnish him concerning any unidentified flying objects observed in Waco, Texas area. Ozane had identified himself as a captain in the United States Air Force. Ozane was described as having on an Air Force uniform with a chaplain's badge on the uniform. Ozane also had in his possession at the time a folder marked Top Secret, which contained pictures of various military installations. No specific information concerning these photos could be provided by Sergeant Stellano. Sergeant Stellano stated that when Ozane was informed that they could provide no information to him, he left his card, which contained the name and the following information. And this was his information right here. The sergeant advised that the individual did not act in any strange manner and did not attempt to obtain anything other information. Was being furnished to the proper authorities only for information purposes, as they do not suspect any unlawful activity concerning the UFO sighting in Waco, Texas. Same letter. Same letter. Okay, so one thing I want you guys to remember, we're in Texas again, okay? We're Waco, Texas. What happened Waco, Texas? Do you remember the compound facility? And, I can't remember what the guy's name is. I'm having a mind blank, of the complex that, he had a bunch of followers and stuff, and the FBI was trying to get him out, and that whole crap parade, that was supposedly going on. That was all MK Ultra, guys. All of it was. That whole Waco thing was MK Ultra. So that was a letter written to J. Edgar Hoover asking if the UFO sightings are real. I didn't see any kind of pertinent information. Something about a job interview and asking about UFO sightings. Nothing pertinent there. Huh. Dear Mr. Malfit, this office recently received a public inquiry regarding UFOs referred to us from the Bureau. As an enclosed fact sheet indicates, the Air Force Project Blue Book investigation of UFOs was terminated on December 17, 1969, and all related documentation was turned over to the National Archives and Records Service. The inquirer referred to us that he has been apprised of these events. Hopefully, the enclosed fact sheet will help you in any responding to the future inquiries on this subject. Project Blue Book. Huh. Interesting. Okay, UFO fact sheet. On December 17th, 1969, the Secretary of the Air Force announced the termination of Project Blue Book, the Air Force program for investigation into UFOs. Interesting word choice. Project Blue Book. The decision to discontinue UFO investigations was based on an evaluation of a report prepared by the University of Colorado entitled Scientific Study of Unidentified Flying Objects, a review of the University of Colorado's report by the National Academy of Sciences, past UFO studies, and Air Force experience in investigating UFO reports during the past 2 decades. Okay, so basically the Air Force said, hey guys, we're shutting down these investigations because we don't find any fault in anything that we're doing. Oh, this is amazing, guys. As a result, these investigations and studies and experience gained from investigating UFO reports since 1948, the conclusion of Project Blue Book are that no UFO reported, investigated, and evaluated by the Air Force has ever given any indication of threat to our national security. Okay, so just from perspective here, if we were the ones doing it, we're not going to threaten our own national security. Okay. 2, there has been no evidence submitted or discovered by the Air Force that sightings categorized as unidentified represent technological developments or principles beyond the range of present-day scientific knowledge. And 3, there has been no evidence indicating that sightings categorized as unidentified are extraterrestrial vehicles. That may be correct. They're not lying here. They know exactly what they are doing. So they're like, well, why are we investigating ourselves? We know exactly what we're doing. And, they say there's been no evidence submitted or discovered by the Air Force that sightings categorized as unidentified represent technological developments or principles beyond the range of present-day scientific knowledge. Okay, they're not lying there. But what the difference is public knowledge versus private military knowledge. That's the part they're leaving out right there. So basically they're saying, yeah, we know about all this stuff. It's not out of the scope of what we already know. Yeah, of what they know, not the general public. With the termination of Project Blue Book, the Air Force regulation established and controlling the program for investigating and analyzing UFOs was rescinded. All documentation regarding the former Blue Book investigation has been permanently transferred to the modern military branch, the National Archives, and the Record Service, 8th and Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C., and is available for public review and analysis. Okay, so go back to a month ago. President Trump is on Air Force One. Somebody asked him, if UFOs are extraterrestrials, basically. And he said no. He goes, I haven't seen anything, but I really don't have an opinion on it. So from that statement alone, that tells me with the supporting facts that we've seen just out of one PDF we went through on this whole show, that the premise that all of this stuff is already out there and it was our own government doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had this tech for years. We've done digs on this stuff. The Ingersoll Lockwood has been pointing us to this and this and this and this. Okay? President Trump has told you, I don't see any evidence of it. Well, of course you don't, because it's all right here, folks. He's giving it to you right here. That's why he's releasing all this stuff. This is leading to ascension. Ascension is a different way of thinking. It's using your damn brain. Okay, so from 1947 to 1969, Yeah, daily dysfunction. Obama's on deck. When we first started this show, I did a calm on one of President Trump's posts that I dug on a little bit. Yeah, Obama's on deck. He's really close. Okay. But before we get to Obama, we've got to get to John Brennan first. John Brennan will lead to Obama. James Comey is just the start. Okay. You're going to start seeing more and more and more indictments come down very shortly. But before we get to Obama, we got to get John Brennan first. John Brennan is the link. The White House logs back in the day will reveal that John Brennan was going to Obama with all of this stuff. Crossfire Hurricane, everything. Okay? Daily dysfunction. I'm actually fixing to wrap this thing up. I have got real life stuff to attend to. So I highly recommend you go back and start it over. I usually don't like to go past 3 hours because people don't want to watch a show over 3 hours usually. So we all have real lives. But getting back to this right here, okay? So between 1947 and 1969, there was 12,618 UFO sightings, unidentified flying objects. So this is telling right here, though, guys, okay? So it's saying that out of those 12,618 sightings, only 701 are unidentified. Are you seeing where I'm going with this? Our government knew exactly what they were. They knew what they were doing, where they were going, how they were doing it. It was our own tech, guys. We probably stole some from Germany back in the day. Or through Operation Paperclip. Guys. All this shit's connected, guys. Every single bit of it is connected. All of it. Let me see if I can get to the end of this PDF. It's just saying that we're not going to be investigating this stuff, and that's it. Okay, so wrapping this thing up, we've talked about propulsion systems. We've talked about possible DEW weapons. We've talked about MK Ultra. Casey Coyle. Look at Ascension Island. It's a military installation. Oh yeah, guess where that ship that's got all these sick people on it, guess where it docked? Ascension Island. Guess where that UFO that we tracked, or that thing that come out of the water from Area 51 and made a beeline to guess where? Ascension Island, before it went south to Antarctica. All this weird crap happens on Ascension Island. Go dig into it. That's what Ascension is. Double meanings exist, though. But anyways, so we've stayed on planet Earth here. I didn't give you clickbait stuff. I'm sorry if you're disappointed in all of this from what I presented to you. But I'm on mission. I'm using facts and relevant D-class information. Post 4509. Go look at it. That's what we're supposed to do. I'm just trying to educate you guys on a little bit and get you back down to planet Earth and get you looking in the right spots and not just looking at a bunch of pictures and videos all the time. That's how we got into this mess, guys. We got lazy. We got, oh, it's a big movie. Let's just sit back and enjoy the show. That's never what this movement was about, guys. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up there. We got to go check on Granny, and we got to go find her. If you're not following me, just go to tracingjustice.com. We've got all of our links there. All of our socials are there. My YouTube channel's there. My Facebook page is there. Our X pages are there. Our True Social pages are there. Our giving links, guys, we are still viewer funded. I do have a sponsor coming on board. I've got to get everything together with, but still, it's still not what everybody thinks. So I'm still highly, highly viewer funded. So our giving links are on tracingjustice.com as well. If you're watching the replay on this and you really liked, what I had to present to you, just consider helping us out. So again, thank you everybody that's been in the chats. Thank you everybody that's watched on YouTube, Facebook, X, Rumble, Pilled. I appreciate everything so much, guys. And if you can, I know this is a heavy episode to take in, but this is the kind of stuff we've got to do to push against this narrative that's out there and get people thinking again. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to end us in prayer with that. Lord, I come to you in Jesus' name, Lord. Hallowed be thy name, Lord. And Lord, I want to thank you once again for sending your son to die on the cross and giving us a path to glory, Lord. And I want to thank you for giving us your armor, the armor of God, so we can be protected against the principalities that rule this earth, Lord. And Lord, I ask you that you grant us the courage to go out and spread your word, that you sent your son to die on the cross for our sins, Lord. Because we know that's the only way that we're going to be able to win souls, Lord, to you, is through Christ. Lord, I want to thank you for everything that you've given us. I want to thank you even for the trials by fire that we've been put through, Lord, because we always come out on the other side of it stronger and better, Lord. And I want to pray for the people out there that have needs that have not been met, Lord, that you meet their needs, that you give them a little relief out there, Lord, as we go through this transition period in our earth, Lord. Times are hard, Lord. Please help us through it. I'm just asking you to provide basic needs to everybody, Lord, and make the ways to provide those basic needs. And I thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, guys. Again, if you liked it, go share it out there with people. Preface it. Tell everybody what it's about. I think it'd be highly... We just went through one document, guys. One. Out of 17 pages of documents. It's a lot of work. I know it is, guys. Thank you, Casey Coyle, for a gifted subscription to Tracing Justice. I appreciate that. One document. We did a 3-hour show almost on one document. All right, guys. Stay on mission. Stay in the signal. Avoid the noise out there. Use your brains, your eyes, and your ears. And let's go wake some people up. But most importantly, let's go make fishers of men. And save some souls. And let's go save the Republic. Good night, guys. Thank you.
You thought you could bury me. Thought the dark would close in. You were wrong. You don't know who I am. And you never in the dirt and flame. They said I break, said I shame. Whisper threats through a locked back door. But I've heard sound before. You pushed and pulled, tried to crack my back. But I don't collapse like that. I don't run, I don't bend, I don't bow to fear of men. When the dust clears you'll see. You never buried me. We're not thought you could take me down. You don't know who I am. I don't stand alone. God holds my sword of truth.